The Blob. Beware the Blob. This is a 1958 film, widely regarded as, you know, probably like the king of all drive-in classics, I guess. Like, of course, I mean, during this time, the drive-in double features were always very popular. Always, the kind of science fiction monster kind of movies were, the big ticket items back then, and a lot, you know, kind of just fell into obscurity. But the Blob, it just has this enduring legacy that, even to this day, I mean, people are still watching it, celebrating it, discovering it for the first time, and it's really kind of kept in popular culture. This original film, despite having a remake, despite being spoofed, countless times, and things like that. But I don't know. There's something about the movie. Obviously, I mean, you can't really downplay the significance of, for one thing, having this uh, charismatic lead actor in the film, Steve McQueen, who I guess this was his first movie, or at least first starring role in a film. Who had this undeniable screen persona. The camera loved him, and this kind of led to him becoming the big star that he would become. The legend Steve McQueen. Obviously, I mean that's a big factor. I mean you can't downplay that one iota, right? Also, I mean, for kind of what we'd call a B movie, I guess. Good effects, nothing groundbreaking, but effective, simple and effective. It works for what it's trying to do. And hey, it's in color, which wasn't always the case with these kinds of movies. So I mean, that's definitely a big draw to have a movie in 1958 in color. It's kind of a special effect in and of itself, right? And I don't know, just it is this kind of universal thing, I guess, that a lot of audiences can respond to in one way or another. Playing with the fears of something like this can come to your small town. It can attack you and all you love, and it's coming for you in your small little town. But whether or not you take a xenophobic kind of you know meaning out of that, or just no one's safe kind of meaning out of that. Maybe depends on the viewer, but there's an appeal in that it can not blow up the fucking White House like Independence Day, but this alien entity, it can come to the small town and run amok, and that's the basic plot of the movie. I mean, we have Steve McQueen and his best gal, Jane. They're up on the lovers lane or whatever it is. They're teenagers having a good, like 30-year-old teenagers having a good time, and then they see this shooting star, which is in fact a meteorite, and it's happens to be carrying this entity, this gloopy globby mass that, of course, we call the Blob, right? And it's attacks the old man, and it attaches to his arm. It attacks the doctor when they bring him to the doctor, and it just keeps growing and growing. And it's this, I don't know, again, it's a very simple kind of effect. It's like, I don't know, like a weather balloon like painted over with you know who the hell knows what's glooby globby jello mold. I don't know, but it works. And it is kind of an interesting thing where it's not like, it's not War of the Worlds spaceship kind of thing. It's not any kind of, you know, Martian with antennae or anything like that. It's just this blob. So I guess it's an interesting thing, and all it really does, it just consumes, and it gets bigger and bigger, and the whole kind of dilemma of these teenagers who discover it. They're trying to convince other people in the town, trying to convince law enforcement that this is a danger, and you know they don't really believe them. They think their kids like playing a little prank or something like that. When in reality, it's a sincere danger, and it's growing by the second. It would seem, but of course we do eventually find out that there are ways to destroy this blob. Fortunately, there are ways to combat it, and it's ultimately a happy ending, I guess. Though it's one of those movies that goes the end with a question mark, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, it has its charms. Even if, like, maybe you're too cool for these kinds of movies, but you can kind of view it in like an ironic kind of way, and at least you can kind of view, Steve McQueen, you know, his early role. You're never too cool for Steve McQueen, right? And it's just it's maintained this legacy where I mean, obviously for a very, I don't know, kind of specific type of audience, like a post-war kind of audience, they'll have those nostalgic memories of seeing the movie when it was released at the drive-in. People who are maybe a little bit younger will, of course, remember broadcasts on, like any given TV station, like play at like midnight or whatever, stay up late, watch a scary movie, and it is kind of the thing where it's not like say any given horror movie of today, where it is something that all ages can watch it. I mean, it's it has some scary stuff, but it's not like overly gross or anything like that, like the remake would be. But that's another story. Just effective, scary stuff like that. And people keep discovering it. People really value the movie. There's even that whole Blob Fest that people fans of the movie, they make these mecha like treks to the town in I think Pennsylvania, where they filmed the movie, to go to this big fair where people who were in the movie who are still alive, like maybe just like the little kids, I guess, in the movie, where they'll attend, and they'll screen movies, and of course the Blob at the same theater where we see in the movie, where the Blob attacks and all that. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool that it's had this whole legacy of itself, and again, it just it thrived, it survived when others of this ilk just completely faded into obscurity. Just dime a dozen drive-in features, this one remains the king, and there's a lot of reasons as to why that is. So I mean, definitely it's something worth revisiting every now and again. Or if you're like a hardcore fan, maybe you do, an annual watch. Maybe you do make that trip to Blobfest. Who knows? But also, of course, if you haven't seen it, I would recommend checking it out. I mean, it's a classic, absolute classic. The Blob 1958, the king of all drive-in classics. What can I say? So, thank you very much for watching this review. We're doing 31 Days of Horror here on the channel. New horror movie reviews every day in October 2021. Be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, I'll see you later, and stay scared.